How did this tradition get started? I'll tell you. I don't know. But it's a tradition. And because of our traditions, every one of us knows who he is and what God expects him to do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Torah. I am Rabbi Tzvi Jacobson with the NRM Streamcast, and we'll spend our time talking Torah, learning stuff, and having fun while we learn. You can always send your questions and comments to our mailbag at letstalktorah@gmail.com. And, of course, I will answer as many as I can, or you can send your questions to letstalktorah.net. No, that's not an email address, right? letstalktorah.net. You can go to our webpage, our amazing webpage, and you can find the archives, the new shows, the old shows. That's what archives means. You can leave comments and questions that we can answer. You can even ask to join the show. And, of course, most important on that webpage is our all-important donate button. I was just listening to a great podcast about Giving Tuesday. Was earlier in the week. People like to give. People feel good when they help out. And the more good you can do, the better you'll feel. So just go over to that donate button. Hit that donate button, please. Help the show. We have different levels. We can give you a shout out if you want. Most people like the anonymous. Whatever works for you, of course, works for us. And we do thank you. We are interesting. I don't know how it works. We're still in that top 10 in FeedSpot's 10 Best Jewish Book Podcasts. We're still at number 5, which is pretty good because we've all had a nice long break for the holidays. I ran a campaign recently, so I was off for, a little bit, very busy. Really an amazing, amazing campaign. And I was just speaking to, I'll call him my partner, but the person I work with the most for fundraising. And we spent extra money this year. We did things a little more professional. We had a more professional video and a more professional marketing campaign, and we raised more money. We definitely raised more money. I just got a very large check this afternoon. And without the campaign, we couldn't have even asked for that gift. There would be no way to really ask. And we're definitely more than last year. So I'm sitting there trying to wrap my head around that. I know there's professionals that try to do this for you. We're trying to do it internally. And that is, we all know that at the end of the day, we have to put in our effort, and then God has to take care of it. And there's no question there were certain gifts that came in that were unexpected, could not be planned on, and still put us over the top. One of our large donors at the last minute, if you ever watched the matching campaign, the way we do it is it's a 30-hour campaign or a 36-hour campaign. We do a lot of fundraising beforehand. We have to get the matching side. We have to get a lot of our own donors, the larger donors, which there's no way to reach all of them in 36 hours. And the goal was $650, which really means $325 raised before, $325,000 day of. For us, that's a lot of money for our organization. It's really a large amount, and we have the parents involved, and there's teams, and everybody's trying to raise and calling friends, and $5 and $20 and $50 and $100 and $500 and $1,000. And we have the girls' high school involved, and they raise a lot of funds, and they get all pumped. But all of a sudden, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's $470 in the bank, and now it's 6 o'clock, and there's $500 and $550 in the bank, and all of a sudden there's $570, and there's an hour to go, there's a half an hour to go, and we're barely at $600. I think we're like at $580 or $590. So I told some other people, I said, the money in our bank, we got to start pouring in, just got to pour in the money, which wasn't going to be enough. But at least if everybody sees money is pouring in, so people will maybe work harder. And there's 5 minutes to go, and we're pouring the money in, and we're about $13,000 short. And there's nowhere to go. what do you do? Like, it's very depressing to work so hard and so much marketing and so much energy and so many parents and 150 or 200 teams. I think we have actually 225 teams, but you're not going to make it. But what do you do? There's 2 minutes left. All of a sudden, one parent sends in 1,000, and then another parent sends in, I think, 700, and then all of a sudden, there's 30 seconds left, and 5,000, which becomes 10,000 on the match, comes in. We're like $150 away. I just went into the back page. I said, I'm sending in $100. Now, it seems the page overloaded because everybody was sending in 50 here and 25 here and 30 here. So all of a sudden, when it slowed down and reset up, we were 500 over the goal. We made it. It was unbelievable. That last 5,000 was totally unexpected. Totally. And on the girls' side, there were 2 separate gifts of 6,500 each. Totally unexpected. Today I get a check. Totally unexpected, $5,000. So where's the point where you put in all your effort? And where's the point where God says, I'm taking care of the whole thing? And I think the answer really is, it's a happy mix. We have to do all that's in our hands. We have to put in all the effort. As much as whatever our talents are, we got to pour it in. And after we've done all our efforts, we weren't going to make it. And a donor who already had given us a very, very large check said, I'm not going to let you fail. And he throws in the money. Still need a few more dollars. So God's doing the whole thing. But you got to put in all your effort. It's a hard thing to wrap your hand around because, so I should pay more money for marketing? I shouldn't pay more money for marketing. The marketing worked. The marketing didn't work. This is what God wanted me to do. He didn't want me to do this. All this is still running through my head. We had a Saturday night. We had what's called Malafa Malka with the parents and appreciation. And we talked about it. And I don't know what the right answer is. It's just something, I don't know how you figure it out. But it's certainly fun to talk about. And it's easier to talk about it when you hit your goal. And we're, right now, it's at like 683 and change. So it'll probably get a little higher. We'll get to 690, probably. At this point, will it make it to 700? I have no idea. I imagine it won't. But I couldn't even answer if I wanted to. But talking about we all do our own effort, let's dive in. Check out this week's Torah portion, and we watch other people who put in all their effort, and let's see where it goes. So in last week's Torah portion, which we didn't have a show about, you have to check the archives for earlier stuff on Toldos. This week, the Torah portion is Vayetze. Jacob has tricked his brother, his father to a certain extent. Jacob has the blessings. Esav wants to kill him. Rebecca says to her husband Isaac, she doesn't inform him that Isaac is on the warpath. She just says, I can't have my son Jacob marry a girl from here. He's got to marry family. So Isaac calls Jacob in, gives him another set of blessings, and says, you're out of here. Go find a wife in Haran, where your mother's family is from. So interesting, he takes a detour, Jacob. He takes a 14-year detour, and he studies in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver, and he's safe. Even Esav understands the whole blessings were if Jacob would behave the way God expects him to behave, he's going to study Torah, he's going to keep mitzvos, he's going to do what's expected, then Esav can't touch him. Because the blessings were, if Jacob's doing what he's supposed to do, you can't touch him. So Jacob is safe for 14 years, even though he was supposed to go get married. But he put it on hold. He leaves the Yeshiva Shem Ve'aver, and he heads now to family. Now it's interesting. Esav's son catches up with Yaakov. His name is Eliphaz, and he says, hey, Uncle Jacob, my father wants me to kill you. But, you taught me so much Torah. In our family, in the Esav tribe, honoring your father is on top. Everything else maybe is second place. So everything is open season except disobeying our father. My father said, I got to kill you. Do you have an advice? Do you have an idea that I don't have to kill you, but I'll still satisfy my father that I killed you? Which that would be a dilemma. So Jacob says, yeah. Talmud says, if somebody is destitute, doesn't have a penny to their name, they're like they're dead. So if you take all my money, take all my stuff, you can leave me my walking stick, then you're good to go. So he did. So now when Jacob's going to head towards Haran, to Lavan, he's penniless. That's why he's going to have to work all those years for Leah and Rachel, because he has no money to buy his wives. So he goes all the way to Haran, and then he says to himself, I can't believe it. I walked by the mountain where Abraham had an altar, and the binding of Isaac was, and Isaac had an altar, and I didn't stop and pray. I'm going to go back. And it's hinted to in the verses, but the commentaries explain it clearly. Not only did Jacob have a quicker trip back to the mountain, but the mountain actually came to greet Jacob. So the question I ask is, like, what do you need that miracle for? And it's the same way God can make you travel. It's in Hebrew it's called kvitzas haderech, like the folding of the path. In other words, you could take a few steps and you just walked 500 miles. So God could do that miracle just as easily as moving the mountain towards Jacob. So why? It really seems to me it was both. It seems the mountain is still in Israel, and Jacob does travel from Haran, which would be modern-day Iraq. So what do you need that miracle for? So I saw Rabbi Jacobson says that Jacob was concerned. He's traveling to Haran. He's leaving Israel. He was in his father's home. He was in the Yeshiva Sheva. Everything was holy. Everything was beautiful. Everything was studying Torah, doing what God wanted all day long, just absorbed. So the place that he was in, the Israel he was in, was very holy. Now he's going to Haran. He's going to be with wicked people. And what's going to be? Where is all that holiness? So God told him, he says, you're making a mistake. It's not the place that's holy. It's the person that makes the place holy. So when you go to Haran, you will be the great Jacob, one of the forefathers, and you will make the place holy. As the mountain can move, the mountain could be anywhere. It's irrelevant where the mountain is. The only thing that matters is where are you? Where are you? And therefore, now Jacob got a new lesson to what his attitude will be as he makes his way to Haran and to get married. It's famous. Jacob is going to pray there. He sets up the evening prayer. It's called Ma'ariv. It's like he set up the telephone wires. So now when we pray, all the forefathers set up a prayer. Abraham, the morning prayer. Isaac, the afternoon prayer. Jacob, the evening prayer. It's like they set up the telephone wires. That's how we used to explain it. Now there's no telephone wires, but the cell service, right? The simple, straightforward connection that allows our prayers to go straight up to God. They set up that whole communication system. It's funny, like I'm remembering how my teachers explained it to me, but no one knows what I'm talking about because who uses telephone wires? Like, I got rid of my landline because what do I need it for? I know they say 911. They try to do things to explain to you why you should be paying, I don't know, $50, $75, $100 a month for a landline that you don't even use, right? We don't listen to the messages. My kids have phones, and the little ones that don't have phones use my phone or my wife's phone. So what do I need a telephone for? So we don't have one. We got rid of it. And soon no one will ever even remember there was such a thing. You know, we drive to New York, so you're on the 80s, so in some of the rest stops, they still have, I don't know if they work, but they still have payphones. Some of you don't even know what a payphone is. But I like to take pictures with my kids. Like, when I was growing up, you wanted to call home, you had a dime or a quarter, you put a dime in, and you called, and then all of a sudden, a minute and a half in, Please insert 5 more cents for the next 60 seconds. Like, things were different. But anyways, I digress. Jacob stays the night. God wants Jacob to stay the night. He has special dreams. That's the ladders where he sees the angels going up the ladder and the angels coming down the ladder. And the question is why are these angels going up and down and what it's representing. At the end, whatever these dreams were, whatever the message was, it's like one of the thoughts that I just had was he sees the angel go up 70 steps and fall off, 180 steps and fall off, and 56 steps and fall off. And then the next one just going 1,000, 1,500, 1,800, 2,000, never ending. So Jacob gets all nervous. What's going on? So God says the last exile is going to be, that's the exile we're in. It's going to be a very long exile, but it's going to end. So who cares? As God showed him 3 exiles weren't so long, and the angels fell off, and the exile ended, and the 4th exile, maybe, perhaps, you could explain that it's important to know there's a plan. I mean, I see with children in class all the time. They got to know what's going on. I put my schedule on the board. If something is delayed, they'll raise their hand and they'll say to me, when are we doing this? Are we still doing this? Are we going to have time for this? You said you're giving prizes. What time are you giving the prizes? There's a comfort zone. There's a level of comfort that they know there's a plan. Even children in class, even though a lot of times as teachers, we wing it a little bit. In other words, maybe I'm going to need an extra 5 minutes here. Maybe I have an extra 5 minutes over here, and we have plans for the empty time. And if we can't get everything done, so there's always tomorrow. So that's good for me, the teacher, because it doesn't really bother me if I needed an extra 7 minutes to explain a concept, and therefore I can't do worksheets. Or I needed an extra 8 minutes to go over to practice the reading and the translation of Rashi. Okay, so I have less time now to do grammar. Okay, we don't finish the grammar. We'll do it later. I'll do it next week. I don't have to do this worksheet. I can be very flexible. But if you had a child, I'm messing up with the schedule. Like that's, you said we were doing A, B, C. Maybe we're not going to get to D, and D is the prizes. Everyone likes to know there's a plan. I'm comfortable when there's a plan. Maybe it's hard to say this about the forefathers, but maybe it's for us, right? That as difficult as things could seem, and things could look like they're going on forever, but we need to know God has a plan. So Jacob had no problem with that. We're the ones that have a problem. Like, what's taking so long? Where's the Messiah already? How come we have to have all these difficulties? Why all these wars? Why do these people have to get killed? It's tragic. It's terrible. But when we know that there's a plan and that God is behind the plan, okay, so he doesn't give me all the details. So I'm not in 3rd grade where I'm going to keep harassing to say, what's the plan? That's the joke. They say there was a guy who lives a very long life. And he was the last one left from his friends. So somebody asked him, like, what's your secret? All your friends passed away already. How'd you live so long? So I'll tell you the truth. Me and my friends would get together, and we would always discuss, like, what's God's plan here? Why is God doing this? Why is God doing that? I never had questions. My friends had questions. So God says, you want the answer? Okay, I'll bring you upstairs. I'll give you the answer, but you ain't going back. I told God, I don't need to know any answers. I'm in no rush to find out the answers. So I'm still here. Okay. So Jacob now gets back on the road. So he's really for the 2nd time, back to Haran. And just like Abraham's servant Eliezer did when he was getting a wife for Isaac, Jacob is going to go to the well. Now, he's not making any conditions or anything. He's just going to, see how life plays out. He knows he's looking for family. He has no money to offer anybody, right? Let's see what's going to happen. So he meets the shepherds, and he starts out a conversation. Why you guys here so early? It's better to stay in the field longer. And they explain to him that the well has a very low, water table. There's only so much water that comes into this well every evening. And if somebody comes early, they'll take all the water. So we have this humongous stone we put over the well. And then when all the shepherds get here, we roll it off. And this way we divvy up the water so it's an even amount. Otherwise, one guy will take it all. And then he asks them about Lavan and he has any daughters. I said, okay, here comes Rachel. So he sees her, he cries, gives her a kiss on the head. It would seem she's a little girl. And before we get into Jacob going to Lavan's house, and Rachel's going to tell him that her father is a shyster and a trickster, and you can't trust him, because Jacob says, "I'm here. I'm your cousin, and we're going to marry family." And she says, "I'm all in, but my father says one thing and does the opposite. He does whatever he wants. Like, he's the man in control. You got to know this." So Jacob says, "I deal with tricksters, even though Jacob's going to lose anyways, but we're going to see what happens." So I heard an interesting story. There was a teacher, it was a nursing school, and he would give quizzes, and he gave a quiz, and he said, "You must answer every question on this quiz, a very important quiz." And one of the questions was, what is the name of the janitor? You come in every day to school, you come to the classroom, you see a janitor in the hallway, what is her name? And the lady taking the test is going crazy, like, what? What does that have to do with nursing? Why is this important? And she's panicking. So the teacher says, you're becoming a nurse. You can say this for teachers, you can say this for a lot of jobs. You're becoming a nurse, and you're going to meet all kinds of people. And you need to know they're all important. Talk to them, ask them what their name is, find out what the problem is, how can you help. You got to talk to them. They are not just a number, they are people. So the lady telling over the story says she lived with that lesson her whole life. And said, by the way, the janitor's name is Dorothy. Anyways, son Jacob does the same thing. He greets the shepherds, has a conversation, so when Rachel shows up, they have no problem telling him, "Oh, that's Rachel, that's Lavan's daughter." Jacob is brought to Lavan. Jacob checks him out, where's all the money? He said it was stolen. And Jacob works for Lavan for a month, and then Lavan says, "Okay, what's the deal over here? What you're not going to work for free." So he says, "I want to marry your daughter, your younger daughter, and her name is Rachel. And for that, I'll work 7 years." Why 7 years? That's debatable. Could be she was 5 years old. No point in marrying her before she's 12. He felt he needed that time to prepare. It's like studying for an exam to get ready for the Jewish people. He has more holy preparations. Whatever it is, Jacob felt it was a worthwhile 7 years. So what, of course, happens? So 7 years comes. It's quite possible at this point that Lavan puts Rachel away, because he really wants his older daughter, Leah, to marry Jacob. And he probably has the plan that he puts through, that he's going to trick Jacob, and he'll get another 7 years of work, because Jacob is amazing. Like, Lavan becomes quite wealthy through Jacob's efforts. So one thing, if we can get through it now, if not, it'll be in the next show. So Jacob tells Rachel, he says, "I'm going to make sure that I don't get fooled. So when we're under that canopy, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You have to tell me 3 laws that are given over to Jewish women. One is family purity. One is taking off a piece of the dough from the bread. We give it to the priests. And one is lighting the candles Friday night. So if it's not you, the person sitting under the canopy won't know to tell me those 3 things, and then I'll know I'm being fooled." What happens? What happens is that they're all by the wedding hall, and Leah's in one room, Rachel's in another room, and not telling anybody, and Lavan tells Leah, okay, you're going down to get married. Rachel's her sister. She realizes that her sister will be totally embarrassed. She has no idea that there's a game going on here. Leah doesn't know her father's, pulling a fast one. Leah doesn't know that Rachel is the one that's supposed to marry Jacob. She doesn't know anything. She's an innocent bystander. And she's going to get destroyed. So Rachel goes and says, I once spoke to Jacob. There's 3 laws that are very important in this family: purity and lighting the Sabbath candles Friday night and taking off the dough. If he asks you about it, that's probably what he wants to know. Leah doesn't know a thing. She doesn't know that these were signs or anything. Rachel is doing this for her sister not to get embarrassed. And by the way, Rachel had no way of knowing that there's going to be any kind of second wife over here. Jacob could say, I came to get married. I wanted to marry you. Didn't work out. I'm going home. So Rachel's giving up everything for her sister. Rachel's the one that's called the private one, that's Sanua. She does things privately. She doesn't tell anybody anything. Oh, and I hear the music in the background. We're going to dive into this in the next show because it's really a very important concept. But as always, the music is playing, and I hope you enjoyed it short and sweet. Thank you, of course, also to all our wonderful sponsor listeners. I can't do it without you. Thank you for the production team. I have Alan in the back today. I hope I've left you some food for thought. Until next time, I am Rabbi Tzvi Jacobson. You've been listening to Let's Talk Torah on NRM Streamcast. And until next time, don't forget to think about it.
There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one